Long before Asgard came into being, long before the thunder of Thor's hammer, before Loki's tricks, before the first human drew breath, there was nothing. No earth, no sky, no time. Only giants and ancient forces living in disorder. Among them were three brothers, Odin, Vili, and Ve, sons of Bor and the giantess Bestla. Descended from both gods and giants, they were strong in spirit, wise and resolute. They watched as the giant Ymir devoured everything around him. He did not create, he consumed. His power grew, and with it, the threat to all that could ever come to exist. The brothers made a fateful decision. They did not negotiate. They did not wait. They attacked Ymir without warning. It was a brutal battle. Ymir was enormous. His footsteps shook the earth. His breath turned ice into mist. But the brothers fought with fury and will. Ymir fell to their blades. His blood poured out like a flood, sweeping everything away. The old order, chaotic, dangerous, and raw, collapsed. But a new world had not yet begun. Before the brothers lay an endless void, in their hands the remains of an ancient giant. From his blood, bones, and torn flesh, they were to create everything. This was the first act of creation in Norse mythology. Not a creation of light, love, or peace, but one born of destruction, sacrifice, and will. From Ymir's remains, the brothers set out to build something great. A new order, solid, stable, alive. A world where everything would have its place, where the sky would arch above the earth, where there would be light and time, where stars, people, creatures, and entire realms could exist. But what would hold up the sky? Who would light the stars? And how could days be counted if time did not yet exist? This episode is about how order emerged from chaos, about how the gods created the universe, about land and sky, stars and oceans, people and the beings who filled the world, about the great tree Yggdrasil, which binds it all, and about how the first drop of a giant's blood became the beginning of eternity. Ymir's blood poured out like a flood, drowning everything around. Entire generations of frost giants were wiped out. They didn't have time to escape. All perished, except for one. His name was Bergelmir, roaring like a bear. He and his wife took refuge at the edge of the world and became the ancestors of a new race of giants. Meanwhile, the three brothers, Odin, Vili, and Ve, began their great task. They cast Ymir's body into the vast emptiness of Ginnungagap. From his flesh, they shaped the earth, heavy and solid. Mountains rose from his bones, cliffs from his teeth, forests from his hair. His blood became the seas and oceans that now surround the land like a ring. They lifted Ymir's skull and made from it the sky. But the sky was heavy, and to keep it from collapsing, the brothers reinforced it at 4 corners. At each corner, they placed a dwarf. Their names reflected the cardinal directions: Austri, east; Vestri, west; Nordri, north; and Sudri, south. From that moment on, these dwarves have held up the heavens. Ymir's brain was used to form the clouds, and from his eyebrows, the gods built a great wall that enclosed the central world, Midgard. This is how the fundamental structure of the universe came into being. Darkness still ruled the world. The brothers traveled to the fiery realm of Muspelheim to bring back sparks. They cast those sparks into the sky, and the stars were born. Shining and eternal, they were not only sources of light, but also keepers of time. Some stars were fixed in the sky, while others were set in motion to mark the passage of months, seasons, and years. Thus, the cycle of days was established, order replaced chaos, and the world gained rhythm and structure. But it wasn't enough. The world needed a steady alternation, light and dark, day and night. Odin summoned a giantess named Naut. She embodied the night. Her son, Dagr, shone like the morning light. The gods gave them each a chariot and a horse, and ordered them to ride across the sky once every day. From then on, each day would begin with the rise of Dagr, and end with the return of Naut. Centuries passed. On Earth lived a man named Mundilfari. He was proud and vain, and he named his children after the heavenly bodies. His daughter he called Sol, which means sun. His son, Mani, which means moon. The gods were angered by his arrogance. They took the children away from their father and gave them sacred duties. Sol was placed in charge of the sun, guiding its chariot through the sky. Mani was given the moon, keeping track of its phases and the movement of stars. From that moment on, constant motion was established. Day and night, lunar phases, the passing of months. The world now had light, rhythm, and measure. Once the world had taken shape and the sky was set above the earth, the gods began dividing it into regions. Now that there were oceans, mountains, clouds, and sky, it was time to decide who would live where. Surrounding the land, like a massive ring, stretched the ocean. It wasn't just water, it was a boundary, a border beyond which lay the unknown. And beyond that water, at the far edge of the world, the gods designated a realm for those whose nature defied order, the giants. The giants, who had survived the death of Ymir, carried his essence within them, raw, wild, and unstoppable. Their realm was called Jotunheim, literally home of the Jotnar, the giants. It was a wild and dangerous land. The laws of the gods did not apply there. It was ruled by an ancient force, forever hostile, yet essential to maintaining balance. To protect their new and fragile world, the gods chose to build a barrier. They used everything they had, magic, stone, and the very structure of reality. At the center of the world, they built a fortress, a stronghold that would become the home of humankind. This place was named Midgard, meaning middle enclosure or middle realm. And the name was literal. Midgard was truly in the middle. It was surrounded by a wall crafted by the gods from Ymir's eyebrows. This wall didn't just separate people from giants. It separated order from chaos, light from darkness, consciousness from primal instinct. Midgard was protected on all sides. Inside, everything followed rhythms, days and nights, stars and seasons. It was a place where one could live, build, speak, think. The gods created Midgard so that a new kind of people could appear there, beings who were neither gods nor giants, beings who could feel, learn, remember, and dream. Later, once people populated Midgard, this stronghold became the setting for many events. The gods watched over it from above, from Asgard. The giants sought to break into it from Jotunheim. But in those early days, Midgard was a symbol of hope, the first world where harmony overcame raw power. And so, at the center of the cosmos, between light and shadow, between sky and the underworld, Midgard came into being, the home of humanity, the heart of it all. When the world was nearly complete, when the sky held firmly above the earth, and day and night circled over Midgard, the Aesir came to the sea. Odin, Vili, and Ve walked along the shore, among waves and rocks, beneath a starlit sky. Their steps were light, but the ground echoed beneath them with something ancient. They weren't searching for anything, but, as is often the case in myth, the important things come when you least expect them. On the shore, they saw two trees cast up by the sea, two simple trunks shaped by wind and water. One was an ash, strong, straight, with pale, smooth wood. The other, a willow, flexible, winding, with delicate branches. The brothers stopped. There was something more to these trees than just driftwood. They held potential, a form without essence, an empty shell, waiting for a spark. And so began a process that would forever change the fate of Midgard. Odin stepped forward first. He gave them life, breath, a soul. From that moment, a pulse stirred within. Air filled their lungs. He gave them what can't be seen, but without which nothing truly lives. Vili gave them reason and the ability to move. He awakened thought, will, the motion of arms and legs. They were no longer just living beings, but thinking ones, capable of choice. They shaped them into human form. He gave them speech, hearing, sight. Now they could see the world, hear the wind, speak to each other. And when all was done, the gods clothed them, like children stepping into a new world. They gave them names. The man was called Ask, which means ash. The woman, Embla, which means elm or willow. Thus, the first humans were born. Not molded from clay, not carved by hand, but taken from nature and filled with a divine spark. They weren't cast into a chaotic world. A place had already been made for them, Midgard, enclosed, protected, full of light, stars, and wind. From Ask and Embla came the human race, descendants not imagined, but discovered, gifted, and given a piece of the divine. But life in this new world didn't arise only on the surface, not just under the sky or upon the earth. Deep within the flesh of the dead giant Ymir, in his dense, heavy body, something stirred. At first, they were nothing more than worms, small, living, shapeless creatures crawling through the remains of the primeval being. When the gods noticed them, their first instinct was to destroy them. These creatures seemed useless, ugly, out of place. They were not part of the great plan. But then the Aesir reconsidered. Even in the humblest forms, there could be potential. Even in worms, the beginning of an entire people. So the gods gave them shape. They made them sturdy, stocky, with powerful arms and sharp eyes. Thus were born the dwarves, also called dark elves, or Svartalfar. They were strange beings, silent, brooding, lovers of darkness. They couldn't stand the light of the sun. Legends say that if a sunbeam struck them, they would turn to stone. That's why they settled deep underground, in a realm known as Svartalfheim, the land of the dark elves. There, in underground halls lit by lava and stone torches, they built great forges. They became master craftsmen, smiths of the worlds. Their hammers rang on anvils, shaping artifacts beyond compare. It was the dwarves who forged Mjolnir, Thor's mighty hammer. They made Draupnir, the ring that multiplies itself, and Gungnir, Odin's spear that never misses. They spoke little, but their creation spoke for them. And at the same time that the realm of the dwarves formed beneath the earth, the Aesir created another people, the complete opposite. They were light as the wind, beautiful as the morning sky. Their eyes sparkled, their skin glowed from within, and their movements were almost otherworldly. These were the light elves. To them, the gods gave a high realm in the heavens, a land with no shadows, no damp stone, no darkness, only light, breeze, and endless sky meadows. Their world was called Lo-Salfheimr, the land of the light elves. If the dark elves hid from the sun, these beings seemed to be made of sunlight itself. Light elves became the keepers of beauty, of art, of elegance. They inspired rather than built, sang instead of forged. They were closer to poetry than to iron. And so, almost at the same time, two races were born, both created by the Aesir, both born of purpose, not blood, but so very different. Light and shadow, the depths of the earth and the heights of the sky, the hand of the smith and the voice of the singer. All things in the world must be balanced, and because of that, both dwarves and light elves were essential. At the center of the world stands a massive tree. Its name is Yggdrasil. It is an ash tree, and upon it rests the entire structure of the cosmos. It connects the various realms, linking the upper, lower, and middle worlds. Yggdrasil is not symbolic. It is the literal foundation of reality. Its roots and branches stretch across all 9 worlds. The tree has 3 great roots, each extending in a different direction, each connected to a distinct force or realm. The Yrst root reaches into Asgard, the realm of the gods. There lies the well of Urd, a sacred spring tied to fate. Beside the well dwell the 3 Norns, Urd, Verdandi, and Skuld. Their names mean past, present, and future. Every day, the Aesir come to this place to make decisions, settle disputes, and administer justice. The Norns draw water from the well and pour it over the root of Yggdrasil, keeping the tree from withering. Without this water, the tree would begin to weaken. The second root extends into Jotunheim, the land of the giants. Here lies Mimir's well, a deep spring filled with ancient knowledge. It's said that those who drink from it gain profound wisdom. When Odin sought this wisdom, he made a sacrifice. He gave up one of his eyes. Since then, he sees the world with only one eye. The other remains with Mimir as payment. Mimir's well is considered one of the most important sources in existence, for it grants understanding of the world's hidden truths. The third root reaches into Niflheim, the cold, dark land of the dead. There flows a river called Hvergelmir, known as the Boiling Cauldron. It is the origin of all rivers and waters that flow throughout the realms. At this root dwells Nidhogg, a dragon who constantly gnaws at the base of the tree. Around him slither countless serpents, who also damage the root. This process of destruction is ongoing. Yggdrasil bears great strain. It is constantly under pressure. Its branches grow, but its roots weaken. The tree exists in a balance, nourished by the wells, yet under threat from the dragon and snakes. It must be maintained, for if it fails, the entire structure of the cosmos will collapse. At the top of Yggdrasil sits an eagle. His name is never given, but he is said to possess great knowledge and watches over the world. Between his eyes perches a hawk named Vedrfolnir, quick and sharp, a messenger. Up and down the trunk of the tree scurries a squirrel named Ratatoskr. She carries messages between the eagle above and the dragon below, but not faithfully. She distorts the words, spreading spite and stirring conflict. This constant tension between the upper and lower worlds is part of how reality functions. 4 stags roam the branches of Yggdrasil. Their names are Dain, Dvalin, Dunir, and Duathror. They feed on the tree's leaves. This cycle of feeding symbolizes natural decay and the passage of energy, but also renewal, as new leaves grow again. Despite the harm, despite the strain and slow decay, Yggdrasil stands. It holds up the 9 realms. It connects creatures, events, and timelines. Through it flows life and knowledge. Yggdrasil is not just a symbol. It is the framework that holds everything together. If it falls, all else will fall with it. That's why the gods come to the Well of Erd, why Odin gave up his eye, why water, words, actions, even destruction, all matter. Every part of the tree affects the whole. As long as Erd's water flows, the tree lives. As long as Yggdrasil lives, the world endures. Every being in the Norse cosmos, from gods to giants, from humans to dwarves and elves, lives in their own realm. Each race has its own land, its own customs, its own purpose. The Aesir rule in Asgard. The giants dwell in Jotunheim. Humans live in Midgard. Dwarves work in the deep halls of Svartalfheim, and the light elves soar high in the skies of Lodofheim. These worlds differ in their nature, in their laws, in how time flows through them. But they are not isolated. They are all connected, and the thread that links them is Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil unites space and time. It connects past, present, and future. It is like an invisible network of roads through which energy, knowledge, and divine will travel. Light and shadow, above and below, stars and roots, sky and water. Everything is woven into a single structure, and when something is disturbed in one part of this system, it sends ripples through the rest. The Norse world is not a static image. It is a living system, constantly seeking balance. To preserve that balance is to preserve existence itself. Yggdrasil doesn't merely stand at the center, it binds everything together. As long as it lives, the worlds endure. But if it weakens, cracks, or begins to fall, everything will collapse with it. Understanding this connection is the key to Norse mythological thought. They believed nothing exists in isolation. Even the gods depend on the world they created. But who are the Aesir, the builders of this world? Who are their allies, and who are their enemies? Who are the Vanir, and why did a great war erupt between them? What is Asgard, the home of the gods, really like? In the next episode, we'll journey into the world of the Aesir and the Vanir. We'll meet the gods, explore their home, their alliances, and their first great conflicts. This is just the beginning. The path has only begun. If you enjoyed this journey into Norse myth, subscribe for more stories of gods, giants, and ancient legends. The Old North still whispers.